Hi, Stuart Bruce here, and I am the Spare Time Property Investor. In these podcasts, I'm going to share tips, tricks, and lessons that I've learned and will hopefully help you, especially if you're still working the 9 to 5. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Spare Time Property Investor podcast. This week is an interview episode. I'm joined by Sam from CR3 Properties. They specialise in student accommodation in Norwich. So if that's your thing, you know, this would be a really good episode for you. Or if you don't invest in student accommodation yet, but you're interested, I'm sure there's some tidbits in here that you'll learn from. I certainly did. So it was a really good episode. We had a little bit of a glitch in the middle, but hopefully it won't be too disruptive to your enjoyment. Like normal, if you like the episode, please like it. And if you get some value, please share it as well. Hopefully by doing that, you're spreading the value to other people. But for now, that's it from me. Here is the interview with Sam from CR3 Properties. Well, thanks again, Sam, for coming on to the podcast. First off, it'd be great if you could introduce yourself and let us know what you're up to in property.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks a lot for having me on. I'm Sam from CR3 Properties. I've now recently handed in my notice from full-time employment. And it's something that I always wanted to do before the age of 30, and I'm 29 and 11 months and 2 weeks, I suppose, into it. So I left it pretty late, but just about I managed to get there. And we are investing in student accommodation properties in Norwich.
Wow, okay. So that's very cool. So there's a couple of things to unpack there. So you handed your notice in from your full-time job. So you've gone down to, what is it, half a week?
Yeah, so I'm now doing 3 days a week until September. And then as soon as September comes, which is where all the students start, I'm then full-time in property.
Brilliant. Okay, that's really good. It's nice having that kind of deadline as well. You can kind of look towards and make sure everything you need to get straight is straightened out, and you know what you're going to be walking into. And then and then secondly, it's all about student accommodation. So is that the only strategy you follow?
So we've now kind of at the moment we've now kind of got a good product and a good model. It's taken us quite a few years to get there. So I feel like we've now got a good product, and we're just going to try to push that instead of just going off on all tangents. That's our main focus at the moment. It's quite easy, isn't it, to get the shiny penny syndrome. Oh, that looks good, and sort of you're just doing loads of random things and not really doing anything that well. So our main focus at the moment is just student accommodation.
That sounds good. So yeah, and you're right. A lot of people just go off on, chase one thing for a couple of years and then go and do something else. So, but did you start off with, I don't know, buy-to-lets, or is this the kind of first thing you've kind of gone into in property?
So we, because I'm an electrical engineer by trade, so I've done, I'm not actually, I've done about a year in domestic sort of wiring and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not. I don't actually wire my own properties up, so it'll take me a hell of a lot longer than what it would to get a real electrician as such to do it. So I always had quite a good understanding of properties and stuff. But our first house we bought, we kind of ended up taking the roof off, changing all walls around.
Okay.
I remember my brother coming around and he was like, "What the hell are you doing here?" Like literally, there was just floorboards up in the air with kind of nails on them, there was cables hanging down everywhere. Literally, I think at one point, if you were on the toilet, we didn't live in there at that point, so it wasn't an issue, but you could literally, you could cook something and look at the person on the toilet as well. There's no walls or anything up anywhere. So a bit of a strange one, really. So that was kind of our first real project. And then I ended up buying a buy-to-let in Great Yarmouth. I don't know if you know Great Yarmouth at all.
Yeah, know it well, yeah.
I probably wouldn't recommend buying. I mean, lots of people do buy properties there, but it's not. It didn't really end. It wasn't horrific, but I think it was kind of a good thing for me to cut my teeth into. I feel like I learned everything, not everything, but a lot there, what I needed to. So there's things like Section 21s and Section 8s. There was tenants that were randomly. I'd go there on the weekend. I'd give sort of the 24-hour notice. So I'm popping in on Saturday to do like a little job or whatever. And the front door would be wide open, the back door would be wide open, but the heating would be on full. The door's not locked or anything like that, and it's just a bit of a nightmare. It's sort of run by a letting agent, which was okay, but then there was single, like a mini mo type property.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the rooms was let out to a guy on a shift who actually had, there was 4 of them in one room, it turns out. They were all kind of like 2 on one shift, 2 on another shift, and they were just alternating the room between them. It was a nightmare. It was a rat that had chewed, because all the houses there are terrace houses, and basically rats can get through the floorboards. And there was actually literally a rat had chewed a push fit pipe above the ceiling, and like 2 days before I was going to go to sell the property, both ceilings had come down.
God.
So me and my wife were like walking through the water, like 2 inches or about an inch, 2 inches worth of water, no electrics on, about 9:30 at night. Thinking, all right, this is all I need.
Yeah, absolutely.
While I was still, and all that's going on. It's only been very, very recently I've handed the notice in, so that's kind of going on while you're still holding up sort of a 50-hour job.
So this was all professionals then. So you had the buy-to-let and then that mini-mo, and that was all professionals, blue collar, that sort of level.
Yeah.
So that was your kind of first introduction to tenants and managing tenants. So was that what made you think to yourself, actually, why don't we try student, lets, or did somebody else kind of turn you on to it?
So we actually had, after that one, we didn't sell that one straight away. We kept that one for quite a while, and we bought another professional property in Norwich. That one, really good house, kind of the opposite to the one in Great Yarmouth actually, and that works. We changed that into a 5-bed, 5-ensuite property.
Oh, nice.
Lovely sort of 3-story house. It's all got little ensuites and all the bedrooms. We've now had that for about 4 years maybe. Never really had any issues with it at all. No real void periods. Just been sort of the ideal property really.
Yeah, sounds good.
Now we're kind of onto the student accommodation. That seems like a different league really. It's kind of really propelled. For us, it's just a completely different business model, and I don't know what it is really, but it just seems like it just fits nicely with us, because on the last one that we've done, we had 48 people queuing up outside to view it.
Wow. Okay. That's impressive.
So it really just feels like it feels like we've kind of found a good product, and the students in Norwich are really interested to rent it out as well.
And I've seen from your site, the rooms look amazing. So you've obviously put a lot of effort into making the rooms as good as possible. And I'm sure they're kind of at the top end of what's available in Norwich.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. So luckily for me, my wife, CR3 Properties is actually, it's a bit of a crap name now I'm saying it out loud, but it's just Chelsea Sam. So Chelsea is the other half, who's my wife. Mm-hmm. And luckily for me, she's a lot better at interior design than me. Mm-hmm. So she can literally pick colours that will go with colours. Like I said to her the other day, what about this bed in this room? She literally was in my basket about to order it. She's like, Sam, are you colourblind or something? That bed will definitely not go with that ceiling. I'm like, oh, right, okay, good job. And I was literally, I thought in my head, oh, she's going to love this. She's going to be really, really impressed. And it's like, the opposite of what, it's bizarre. Luckily she's better at designing it than me. So we do try and stay at the top of the market. It's quite surprising, even when you go on Rightmove and go on properties to rent in Norwich, we're not the highest. The magnolia walls and dark brown furniture, not been refurbed. And they're still renting out. It's quite.
But I suppose
it's quite a bizarre thing to be. I went to view one the other day, and the guy was, sorry, what was that?
But I suppose although they do still rent out those properties, at some point, as people keep on improving and people's expectations of what a nice room looks like, you'd think that they'd become less and less popular. So having such nice rooms will hopefully kind of give you that kind of future proofing. So at this point in the conversation, Zoom got really glitchy and kicked us off, but thankfully we were able to get going again and restart the conversation. But we're recording again now, so I'll stitch them together and it won't be too much of a...
Do you want me to try and cut back in on the half word? Yeah, and then just carry on.
Oh, you'd be an absolute pro if you could manage to do that sort of thing. So
Yeah, I can't. To be honest, I can't even remember what I was saying.
no, we were kind of going into like the whole benefits of you having such good rooms. And I was just going to say really that although those other rooms still rent out, having such nice rooms kind of future proofs your position in Norwich.
Yeah, no, it certainly does. Yeah, I feel really bad for the. I went to view a property the other day, and the guys are kind of living in accommodation with mouldy ceilings, and the carpets are filthy, all the bathroom floors are all soggy. And they said to me, "Oh, we have asked the landlord if he'll, do the property up, but he won't." And this
Yeah.
was kind of like the only house. I think they left it too late. I mean, this was the only house they could find. So what we try and do to future-proof them is to we've done some drone footage the other day, and you can literally see the one we just bought. The drone kind of goes up, and then there's a road, and the university is just there.
Oh wow, yeah.
So yeah, we try and buy. That's kind of our sort of one of our top things really, is to buy extremely close to the university, because there is now there's another area in Norwich called the primary student accommodation, and there's like a secondary student accommodation. I suppose there's three actually. There's one sort of really close by to the university, one in Norwich city centre, and there's another one which is kind of like not really near too much, but you can get there. There's quite a lot of cycle lanes and stuff, and directly to the university, to that area.
Okay, cool.
You are now seeing that the people that have got those houses are kind of being pushed out a little bit, so that little bit much further away.
And this
if the properties just aren't up to scratch, they're just not renting out now. So quite a lot of them are coming on the market for sale.
Yeah, so and like you're saying, you've got in a really good location in their top end. So yeah, hopefully you'll be making sure you're good to go for a long while yet.
Yeah, they should be. Yeah, I mean they're now that we use a letting agent initially to market the properties, and it's kind of working quite well actually, because the guys follow us on Instagram, the tenants do, and they're kind of showing their friends, oh, look at the house that we've kind of got. So actually, as soon as we got the keys to this one, we actually managed to rent out, the one that was just in the mid refurb. Oh no, not mid refurb, start of the refurb.
It's great.
And by showing guys around the first one that we done.
Yeah.
So it kind of has a nice knock-on effect and trying to create a good brand and keep them all really high spec. Seems to be working well, really.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. That's really good. And it sounds like you've got it. Yeah, sounds like you've kind of got the measure of it now. So what would you say the benefits are to student accommodation compared with professional?
So I tend to, I think the professional model, obviously the professional model does work, and the professional one we've got is really good, but we seem to be getting, especially now, you kind of get a few, no major problems, but kind of tedious problems where, say you've got 5 people sharing a property, and they all happen to get on, which is great, but then the 5th guy moves out, and then you get somebody else moving, and don't get wrong, you vet them well, and they seem nice and everything on the first meeting, which, a lot of people do, but then they come in and they're not as nice as what you first thought, even something small like cleanliness, or they're leaving half-eaten things out, or they're just slamming the doors a bit loud. You quite easily create a bad dynamic in the house just from that one tenant. So then you kind of annoyed your other 4 tenants, and it's quite easy to, I get emails weekly about these little sort of trivial problems.
Yeah,
and they are just small,
and they all sound very familiar.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, not to worry. Don't worry about this. I'm sure it will be okay. Just more, very trivial, small, minor issues. But whereas with the student accommodation, because they're all second year students and they know each other, they're coming to you as a group. So maybe a group of 5 or a group of 6. You don't get that.
Yeah, no, I can imagine.
They won't, they won't email the landlord about somebody banging the door. They'll just say, shut up, stop banging the doors. It's because it's one of their friends. So it's kind of, you don't tend to get that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is good.
And isn't it strange, because when I first because we've started looking at the student accommodation as something that we'll kind of it's one of our next kind of things that we want to do. And when I started thinking about it, I kind of thought, oh, they're going to be really noisy. They're going to be having parties. They're going to be immature and stuff like that. But I've heard so many people saying, actually, no, they're quite kind of civilized, and you know, you don't have as many of these little trivial complaints about the properties and stuff like that. And like you're saying, like if they all move in together and they all know each other, at least they can just say, oh, you know, tidy it up, you know, rather than somebody who doesn't know the other people, doesn't really see them necessarily, apart from when they're kind of passing in the kitchen and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and you get all different working shifts as well, don't you?
Oh
You know,
yeah.
that's not kind of a random shifts. Then this guy's awake and this guy's asleep. You know, that's a problem in itself, really.
Yeah.
And also the great thing about student accommodation is that you can. We tend to try and get the properties ready for like December, January to get the best tenants. So that's when the best tenants sort of start to look, or the more organised tenants, shall I say.
Mm-hmm.
So then, you know, hopefully you'll rent the property out in January for September. So then you'll know 9 months in advance that you've got a 12-month AST sign.
That's very nice.
So then as soon as that group of tenants do sign up in September, you've only got 3 or 4 months until a new group of tenants will want to come and view. And then that group of tenants will want to come and view, and then 9 months in advance. So you're always 9 months ahead, and then you know for that 12 months, it's quite easy to predict your cash flow and stuff. Whereas professional HMOs just isn't. You know when the AST is going to run out. But some people go onto a rolling contract, some people want to leave. So from that point of view as well, it seems a lot better for us anyway.
It does sound good. It does sound like and like you say, it feels from not just from speaking to you, but from speaking to other people, that kind of feels like a very predictable way of running properties, rather than people coming and going and disappearing for the night and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's it. And there was one the other day that we went to view a property, and I noticed that the property next door was also a student accommodation house.
Mm-hmm.
So in my eyes, that's great, because you're not going to get, they're not going to complain about noise if there is any noise. Yeah. There's a house next door which is students, perfect. That for me, that's not right. That's a good house to buy. Whereas if it's kind of like an elderly family, an elderly couple or a family that size, a bit. Because don't get me wrong, I'm not going to say that they're all noisy and they're all not, everyone's different, but because they are, young people. I know when I was 18 and 20, be having a few drinks and getting music, nothing sort of ridiculous, but that is going to create, if you've got an old couple that go to bed at 7 o'clock every night, and then you've got some, a group of 18-year-old lads, for instance, are going to be making a little bit more noise than, the elderly couple next door.
Absolutely, and I'm sure everybody remembers from uni days. Even if your house wasn't noisy, there's definitely noisy houses. So
there's definitely a noisy house somewhere.
Absolutely. So you wouldn't want to be next to that one. So
no, exactly. So it's a good thing to think about, actually. The next door neighbour to students, perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one less complaint.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to when you were first starting, when you were first kind of getting into property then, so what sparked your interest? Was it just your job and you saw other people doing, properties on jobs you were working on, but you weren't residential really, were you, as an electrical engineer? What sparked your interest in the first place?
So when I was younger, my uncle was quite into properties. He's from London, and he, when we went to visit him, I'd go and help him out, and he'd teach me how to, well, not really plaster. I'd probably just look at him and be a bit of a pain in the neck for him, really, more than anything. But so he had quite a few properties. So that, and I was probably really young then, but that initially sparked my interest, and I've always been, even through school. And I had 2 older brothers growing up, and I can remember their, I think one's 8 years older than me, and the other one's 12 years older than me. So they were quite, their friends and stuff were quite a lot older than me, and they'd always complain that the shop opposite us would shut at 7. So what I'd done is, I remember them beds used to get when you were younger, then kind of have like the steps going up, the single bed, and then like a desk underneath. So to my mum's amusement, I took the desk off, put a bit of wood on the bottom, and then went to the shop, saved up all my pocket money, went to the shop and bought these multi-pack cans of Coke, and I bought a Space Raiders and all these sweets and cans of drink. And as soon as the shop shut, I would then just inflate the prices massively, and I'd sell them to all my brother's friends. And because there's like, they just think I was cute and they'd sort of pay the price. But I've always kind of been, into making deals and sort of negotiating with people, and I sort of like that side of it. So yeah, I've always been into sort of deals and sort of helping people and solving people's problems and stuff like that. And then as soon as I bought our first property and we really kind of got our teeth into that, we saw how much money you could make as well.
Yeah.
So soon as that kind of then sort of spiraled from there, really.
So from there, obviously you had the exposure as a kid to, your uncle doing the properties, but then later on you saw how much money could be made from properties. So then did you kind of go and do any training courses, or did you just kind of think to yourself, oh, I'm just going to get another property and just get on with it?
Yeah, so I'd say from buying the first buy-to-let property to now, it's been about 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that fast by any sort of imagination. But the fact I say that because the first one was so bad, that taught me a hell of a lot of stuff. Everything went really well. I wouldn't have really learned anything. So didn't do any training or anything. I sort of just kind of bought one. It was okay, and we bought and saved up for a couple more years. We bought another one. We refinanced where we could, added value where we could, but we kind of bought in the wrong place. Yarmouth wasn't really the right place for our strategy. Kind of bought in the wrong place. And the next professional HMO, that was a good purchase in terms of cash flow, but didn't really. The houses were kind of too new, so it didn't really bring any value on the refinance side. So we couldn't really. So it's kind of like we were potting along, and then probably around about a year ago to this day, I sort of thought, right, I've now got a plot to go again. Let's really try and focus now. So now, in the last year, I've really been focused. Really been waking up sort of 2 hours before work, doing an hour and a half, 2 hours in the study before work. I've stopped drinking alcohol, which I find for no real reason. I'm thinking about 200 and not that I'm counting day per day, but 273 days. I don't know the exact day, but around about 260, 270.
Okay, yeah.
And that's had a huge impact, actually. Not, there was no real reason that stopped me doing it, but just.
So let's dig it. What kind of impact do you think that's had on you?
Huge.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I was a production supervisor at work, I had to do Monday morning meetings and be sort of quite chirpy and happy and not sad that it's Monday. So I found that if I was going, we never would drink loads, but we'd kind of go out on a Friday night and sort of get drunk that night, and that would kind of affect me on the Saturday, the Sunday. Now I'm getting on a little bit, nearly 30 now, so that kind of affects me more. And it was just, I was going to be feeling sort of down, a little bit moody on the Monday, then I'd probably be eating sort of junk food. On the Tuesday, I'd be feeling okay, but because on the Saturday and Sunday, I could be doing a little bit of work, I could be doing, speaking to other people, and on the Monday, I wouldn't want to do anything. So that's kind of 3 days. And I'd feel, even if I wasn't hungover, I'd still be kind of moping around and not particularly doing anything. So it'd be the not doing anything that really affected me. It wouldn't be like the headaches and feeling sick or whatever. It was just physically knowing that I could be doing X, Y, and Z, but instead of just sort of sitting on the sofa eating a cookie in my pants, it's not really. Not that productive, really.
Yeah, not great.
Yeah, not great. Really not great. And like getting up early, it really, really impacted that.
That's amazing. I think it's one of those things that I've spoken to a couple of people recently who have given up booze, and they've all they've both said it's had a huge impact. And I think it's just one of those things that people kind of get into the habit of and just accept as part of their lives. And if you're feeling sluggish like that for the whole weekend, and then you kind of knocking into the next week, and then by the time Friday rolls around, you're probably thinking, Jesus, I need a drink, and then kind of going round again. And
yeah, it's not a good circle to be in, is it? If you're doing that week, the thing is, even if you were, you kind of didn't mope around and so even though lay in, or it's not, when you add that up from week per, say for instance, if you start like, I'm going to stop drinking and I'm going to get up every day at 6, even on the weekend I'm going to get up at 6, that's 14 hours worth of extra work you're putting in.
Absolutely.
A month. So as soon as you time that up by a year, that's a ridiculous amount of time that you wouldn't have had if you were sort of drinking, lying in bed. And so for me, I'd say that's had a huge impact, not drinking.
No, it's great. Yeah, well done. That's an amazing thing to be able to do and stick to as well. So that's yeah.
I must admit, now it's kind of like, all the pubs and stuff are opening up again, and summer's kind of, now it's just the thing is because it's now about 9 months. Yes, but just about 9 months. So that's 8 months. You've got 4 more months left.
Mm.
And I'm not doing it for anyone. It's not a challenge. I'm not doing it for anyone else other than
Yeah.
myself. But I don't want to get into sort of, I've done 9 months. I really just want to do the 12 months. But
Yeah.
I do keep getting texts from people saying, "I'll go on, WhatsApp chats and stuff." Saying, "I'll go on, let's meet up for a few beers." And I'm just really, really trying to hold out. Actually,
So is that the aim though? A full year? Is that the
full
kind of,
year, yeah. I don't know. Even on my 30th, people are kind of saying, "Oh, should we go out and go for drinks and stuff like that?" But yeah, I'm trying to just stick it out
yeah,
really, just for my own OCD self. Really, it kind of feels like a shame to kind of do like 9 or 10 months and then bottle it. Two
yeah,
months
yeah,
to go.
yeah. No, it's good. It's good. No, I mean, yeah, they should. Yeah, you should. It's great. It is a great thing to be able to do, and also prove to yourself that you can do it. And yeah,
Yeah,
well
I
done.
bet I put it on my CV and didn't drink alcohol for 12 months. My head's turning.
Like, people will be like, nah, I can't see it. Didn't happen. No.
Yeah, he's a liar.
Yeah, can't hire him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously you've got a very busy day job and you're kind of building this, portfolio of properties. So how do you keep on track, with the property investment alongside your day job?
So we've basically got, I don't know if you can kind of see it, it's a little bit to the left of the screen there, but we've basically got like a whiteboard behind us, and then everything that is on, we write on that whiteboard is like the stuff we've got to get done that week. So we don't, if there's anything that we can do, if I think something in my mind that I can do straight away, I just do it.
Uh-huh.
We don't have just like random to-do lists or reminders or, I think when I first started, I had an Outlook calendar, I had a reminder, I'd write stuff in my notes section. Before long, you've kind of got this list, that list, that list. You might have a notepad on. Just, you only got 2 hours a day. You have to
Absolutely.
be so focused. So we've got, it has to be ticked off by the Friday. So it's literally just, we got on the board, and then it's either on the Friday, it's got a green tick or a red cross. And then me and my wife have both got it. So she'll quiz me on the Friday, like, why haven't you done that? Or she might have some stuff to do, and I'll sort of say the same thing. But there's only really kind of important things on there. It's not sort of like, ring the gas company. They're like things that have got to be done that week. And then anything else, even if it's kind of like small stuff, I kind of feel like, I was mentioning earlier, like somebody might email me and sort of say, "Can I have this?" But that can quite easy, if it's important, then okay, you've got to do it. But you can quite easily just, you're busy in 2 hours, but
Yeah.
and I think so.
So I think I lost you. I lost you. I lost you a little bit there, but I think you were talking about those little jobs that kind of come in, and you can just end up being busy for busy's sake.
Yeah, and not.
Oh,
Hello, I've got you again. You're back.
sorry. Yeah. God.
No, that's all right. Yeah. So basically, just saying, like, you can quite easily get bogged down in other people's small jobs. You get the email sort of left, right, and centre, where actually, you might spend the only 2 hours of the day you've got doing other people's questions and answering, their things, where actually you haven't done anything that you needed to do on your whiteboard.
Yeah,
So that
absolutely.
has sort of been fundamental for me handling the noticing, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think there is a nice saying I quite like, being in the thick of thin things. I can't remember who said it. I think it is that kind of all these little bits and pieces that people are asking you to do, and you have to go and do. But actually, how much value do they actually bring to you in terms of achieving your goals and stuff like that? So that sounds really interesting. Do you have like longer term goals as well on that board, or is that all kind of to be done in the week? 2 weeks, month?
Yeah, so we've got I've got a couple of random quotes on the bottom of it because they're a bit embarrassing, so I won't read them. So there's kind of like that week job, and then we've got a notice board, which has kind of got 3 month to 1 year goals, 1 to 2 year, and 10-year goals.
Oh wow.
So yes, just so we can kind of look back, and I've also kind of got notes to myself as well on there, the things that I always try and look back and just remember and think, right, that is why I'm doing it, or you know, when things get quite stressful, you can just look back and think, oh, right, that is that why. So yeah, by looking at the 3 months to 1 year, we've kind of done 3 out of the 4 so far.
That's great.
But yeah, it needs to get all 4. I'll have to buy another property in about 3 months. I'll probably do 3 out of 4, not the 4 out of 4. But I suppose if it was an exam and you got 3 out of 4, you're doing quite well, aren't you?
I always think as well. I mean, goals, I think they should be a stretch, shouldn't they? So if you're always achieving them, they're probably not high enough. So no, it sounds like a great way. It's very, very visual as well. I like that.
Yeah, that's it. We've got all sort of pictures up there of you know, sort of happy sort of family times with me and my wife on holiday and stuff. And
well, do you remember,
you know, just sort of visual?
Remember those things, holidays?
Vaguely, I'm looking really pale and quite pasty at the moment. It would be nice to go on holiday, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really nice.
But that's really good. So you've got your reason why sort of stuff, and then you've got all your goals and everything. No, it does sound good. I think I have a tendency, and I think a lot of people have this you know, thing where you put everything on your phone, everything's on apps, and you know, everything like that. It can sometimes, it's quite nice to have a physical thing, you know, something in the real world that you can tick off and all that. It feels real, doesn't it?
I think to-do lists are great, but it can also be an absolute nightmare. Like not having a go at my wife, because obviously I'm a great husband, I don't have a go at her at all. But you know, she was having a to-do list of like things that we were supposed to be in. Just like, you know, she was getting stressed out because she was putting like you know, go shopping, or you know, not go shopping, but you know, actually putting sort of like enjoyment tasks in the to-do list, and then also having like the work to-do list, and you know, just this huge list. She's like, oh, I've got so much to do, and I was like, well, you haven't really, have you? I mean, they're all like small little things. Just don't worry about it. You know, just have 1 or 2 things on the to-do list that you've got to get done. Yeah. And all the things that you need to get done, if it's that important, you're going to do them anyway. So just don't. You know, what's the point of writing it down? It's a 2-minute job. Just do it. Don't write it on a bit of paper.
Absolutely. And who wants to live a really, really regimented life where everything is accounted for as well? It sounds pretty dire.
Yeah, exactly. I think my brain is a bit like, if I had on a podcast the other day with a guy who was saying that his brain is a bit like a computer, and you've got all the tabs open, so you can literally just kind of go in to that section, you do a little bit of that, and then you do a little bit of this, and you open that tab. So, you know, because we kind of think, well, I think certain people think like that, it's kind of silly to then have loads of different to-do lists and things written down. So I'd really sort of stress the fact that on a to-do list, or you know, you're bored of to-do things, just have the 3 or 4, maybe 5 important things that you've got to do that week. You know, don't have 15, 20 small items on there. Yeah, you can do something, you know, in a couple of minutes. Just do it. If it's a quick phone call, just do it. You know, all these to-do lists is just bogging people down. It's just too much, isn't it?
Well, you can drive yourself mad with it as well, can't you? It's not helpful in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
Not nice, is it? When you go to sleep, you just see all these words and no. We don't have nightmares about it.
We don't need that, definitely not.
No, that's the last thing you want.
Great. Okay, so it sounds like since you started getting into property, then you got stuck into it, and you've kind of progressed and you've learned as you've gone along and developed and everything like that. And you haven't had any training, but have you kind of read any helpful books or anything like that have kind of helped you along the way?
Yeah, so quite a lot of different books. I don't just read an actual book that I like did make me sort of change the way. It was always just thought, right, property is kind of the only thing that I want to invest in. I actually read a book called How to Own the World by Andrew Craig, and it's kind of just changes the way you think. So now we actually me and my wife, we both save 10% of what we earn in a stocks and shares ISA. So we've kind of got a few different asset classes now instead of just property.
That's good. Yeah.
Which is quite good. Yeah. So I really, and that is a really good book. Actually, I highly recommend that. It just kind of changes the way that you think.
What's it called again?
It's called How to Own the World by Andrew Craig.
Yeah. No, I'll make sure that's in the show notes. How to Own the World.
Yeah, it's good. Really, really good.
I think that's one of the things I've. I always think to myself, oh yeah, I should start getting into something else as well. But then, God, I just think property. I like property, but I definitely see the value in having investments in different things as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, so my brother actually, I got my brother to read that book, and he was never into property investing or anything. And since he's read that book, he's got a stocks and shares ISA. He's invested in cryptocurrency, and he's now bought I think he's now on like his third or fourth house, and that was like,
oh wow,
he's done it fast, like really.
Yeah.
The third and the fourth house hasn't gone through yet, but it's kind of like close. And I mean, that's not even a year. I don't think it's bizarre.
Amazing.
Like he was kind of not into that at all. Really, like on. And I was like, just read this, and he read the book, and it was like different man. He's like, oh, what do you think? It's sending me all these things he's investing in, and crazy, really. I like that though. It's good, isn't it?
It's really good.
Yeah,
it's really good. And also, like, it's something you've kind of affected. You've kind of got him to open his mind to it, and
forced him into it.
Yeah,
it's
good. I wouldn't like to put words in your mouth, but yeah, it does sound like
it. Yeah, that's all right.
Cool. Okay. Do you use any kind of software or tools or anything like that to help you manage your investment around the day job?
So I really like Landlord Vision. I don't know if you've used that or not.
What was it called? Sorry.
Landlord Vision. So it's kind of like just a landlord piece of software. It's not really. I think it's about £8 or £9 a month. It's not loads. But you can basically put all your properties on there, and then you can assign different rooms to different tenants, and put all their contact details on there. You can put each property. It's literally like a really easy to use bit of software. Each property's got its own sort of tab, and then you can put the gas safety reports on there, the electrical reports on there. You can set reminders to when they're running out. It sends the tenants invoices like 3 days before they're due to pay, just as a reminder. And it then sends, say, for instance, like me and my wife are both in charge of that, it will send us both a weekly reminder of if there's any sort of upcoming jobs coming. I don't allow it 3 days. If there's something quite important, you can sort of set up for 2 or 3 weeks in advance. That's something that I probably can do without, because every week you get the email, and then you can do it checks if people have been paid as well, or have been people paid as well, which is good.
Yeah, that sounds really powerful bit of software by the sounds of it.
It's good. Yeah, there's a few others that do it, but that's kind of like the best and cheapest one that I found. And it's really good as well, because you're so our sort of market tends to be sort of 18 to 20-year-old sort of people who might not necessarily want to be ringing up like a landlord and bothering them with like a leaking tap or something like that. Landlord Vision has actually got a tenant module, so you can just give them, they download the app, give them like a passcode, and then they can just put on their leaking tap or light doesn't work. They don't actually have to speak to us at all, and on the app we'll get the notification.
That's really good.
Yeah, people seem to really like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would feel probably a bit uneasy picking up the phone to complain about something like that, or kind of raise it as a repair. So at least if they can just kind of log it, it sounds like and you get to hear about it quick as well, rather than it damaging your property, by it being left by them, if they don't feel quite comfortable raising it. So
exactly, that's the thing, isn't it? Sometimes people can be a bit sort of shy and they think, I'll just leave it. Someone else will mention it, and then before you know it, it's kind of been 2 months, and you've got like a it's a damaged floor or something where the washing machine's been leaking and no one's picked it up. So that seems Landlord Vision is one of them, and I would say later as well, sort of the just to schedule our Instagram posts as well. That's quite it's quite a basic thing, but it literally just on the Sunday I'll sort of put my Instagram pictures You can say, you know, I think we do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, write a little bit of text that will send it out to Instagram and Facebook. Just so then when you are, you know, the thing is, if you're working a full-time job, to then come home, you know, you need to be kind of working on your things that are important, whereas, you know, is social media pictures as important as some other jobs? I don't, you know, it depends on what you got on that week.
Wow.
So by doing it on the Sunday, spending an hour or so doing the pictures, they're out however busy you are.
No, it does sound like I've heard a lot of people using Hootsuite. I think that's another one, and you know,
I think
it does sound like a really good way to, like, you know, chunk up that work so you can get it done in one go, and then you don't have to think about it for the rest of the week. And
no, that's it. You know, then if there's, you know, it's just kind of replying to comments or stuff like that. Which, you know, the thing is, when I used to think, oh no, I won't bother doing that, I'll just post. When it comes to it, 3 or 4 weeks would kind of go by. The thing is, when you're working, if you're doing a refurb, as soon as you come home from work, you know, you're spending an hour or so, a couple of hours chasing stuff up.
Exactly.
The last thing you want to be doing is then, oh, let's find a picture to put some words to. It's just not, well, for us anyway, it really wasn't feasible.
No, and it's just so far down on your priority list as well, then, isn't it? It just doesn't seem that compared to everything else. So yeah, no, it sounds like a really good way to manage it. A good way to manage it.
Especially when you've kind of, you know, you might have your jobs for the day. I know that's what happens to me quite a lot. I've got like a certain amount of jobs that I want to get done, and then you might get a mortgage company email you and say, oh, I need this, this, and this, and then you're, oh, okay, and then someone else, a tenant, will email you. So by the time you've actually kind of dealt with other people's problems, you know, by the time you come to your own, and then you've got your Instagrams and stuff to think about, you know, you just never really doing anything. You sort of
absolutely.
do it like that.
That's cool. Cool. Okay. So this question is, if you could speak to your 18-year-old self, what advice would you give them? And would you have listened? That's the other
Good question. Probably not. I was a bit of an arsehole at 18, actually.
We all are. Everyone's an arsehole at 18.
A bit of a know-it-all. I kind of work, now I'm a bit different, but back then I probably would kind of listen, but I'd almost want to kind of do it myself anyway.
So what advice would you
give yourself? What was that, sorry?
So what advice would you have given yourself, even though you wouldn't have listened to it?
Probably wouldn't have listened to it. Maybe just to, I don't know. It's a good question, actually. Maybe just to try and knuckle down a little bit earlier than I did, and maybe put some more, you know, because I can remember being an apprentice and earning £3.50 an hour, and literally going out on a Friday night and spending all my money, and like the first night not having anything for the month. So maybe, you know, from the age of 16 to 19, save a little bit more money up. But then again, saying that, I don't really regret that, because I feel like I kind of lived, you know, you have got to live as well.
Yeah, you got.
So maybe from 16 to 20 is a good age to kind of get everything out of your system and be a bit of a moron, waste all your money on, you know, fancy clothes and things like that. But yeah, to definitely, I think at some point in your life, you kind of need to decide, you know, are you going to keep being that person who goes out and spends all this money, you know, lives paycheck to paycheck, or are you going to start to, you know, make a difference and put some money away? And, you know, you can kind of go that way and keep spending all your money. You can kind of go that way and try and focus on, you know, investing in different asset classes and becoming wealthy. And so I think that's I don't think it needs to be 16, but I reckon, you know, 22, 23, 24, you kind of need to start thinking about making a positive change. And you don't need to, if that's the way you're inclined. If you want to make a change, you know, not everyone. I work with a guy that is just so happy, works from 8 till 4 or 7 till 3. He's the happiest guy I've ever come across. But that, you know, that's all he wants to do. He's got a little dog. He walks his dog.
I think for some people that's absolutely cool. And if
amazing, fair play to him. You know, he's very, very happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas you get these other people that are kind of chasing it all the time and aren't happy at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, I think basically that, you know, if you want to better yourself and you want to be the best person you can be, you kind of need to start learning as much as you can and sort of putting some money away for the future. Just learning, isn't it? Reading as well. You know, you can only, you know, if you don't know some information, the only way to really learn it is through reading and the people you hang around and stuff.
Yeah.
Also, circle of friends would be a good one as well. You know, if you hang around with people that aren't kind of going anywhere in life and they're getting in trouble and stuff, it's probably not that good of an idea to carry on hanging around with them, really.
Absolutely. No, it definitely impacts on you. Having people like that around you. I think it's one of those things, isn't it? There's that kind of cheesy line about your network being your net worth or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I think there's definitely truth.
I think it is.
Definitely.
I think it is true, actually. Yeah, I've slowly started to sort of realise that, and like you say, it's a bit of a cheesy line. You think, is it? But now, I don't know. I think the older you get, you kind of become a bit more wiser.
Yeah, I think it's just I don't know. For me, I always, when people kind of have these lines and they just kind of regurgitate, you kind of think, oh, is that true? But I think that one is definitely, there's definitely truth in it. I just wish people would not just regurgitate it every time.
Just keep saying it constantly.
Yeah, it's like a little T-shirt or something like that.
Yeah, it is strange, isn't it? Sayings like that, you hear it all the time, and then some of them are just absolute garbage, but then a few of them, the odd one, does run true, really.
But that's the thing, isn't it? You've got to filter out the garbage one and keep the good ones. Make sure you're not ignoring the ones that are actually valuable.
Yeah, that's it.
Cool. Okay. Well, it's been great having you on. I would, I'm going to kind of keep an eye on what you're doing, especially as I'm interested in getting into student accommodation myself. But where can other people kind of, get in touch with you and see what you're up to?
Instagram, we're quite, most of the stuff we sort of post is on Instagram, so it's CR3 Properties, or our website. I've just recently done our website up, which is www.cr3properties.co.uk. That'd be great if anyone wants to reach out and talk about anything property related. We'd be more than happy to help anyone out.
That's great. Cool. Well, thanks again for coming on, and I'll see you again soon.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to my podcast, and I really hope you enjoyed it. If you have, please leave me a 5-star review to help other people find it, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.